Hey guys, Sean here. One of the most persistent questions I get about precious metals is if they will hold any value when S hits the fan. Now, a lot of people recognize that gold and silver are valuable, but there tends to be quite a bit of disagreements if they are useful in a doomsday scenario. I'm sure you're familiar with the you can't eat gold argument, or your gold will be worthless in a nuclear apocalypse. Now, if you're a prepper, you know that you need food, water, and medicine no matter what. But in this video, I really want to demystify why you need some precious metals as well. Similarly, if you're a stacker or investor, it is true that gold and silver can help you barter and get the essentials you need to survive, but that is not always the case. We need to understand that there are varying degrees of as hits the fan, and not every scenario needs to be apocalyptic that signals the end of the world. Now, there are two main types of disaster situations that we need to know, especially how the value of gold and silver will change in each. The first is a disaster or collapse without breakdown in society, and the second is a total collapse or Mad Max scenario that we all love to reference to. In this first scenario, which is a partial collapse but there's still the rule of law, gold and silver will be valuable. In fact, its value could even spike and increase in the immediate short term. This is most commonly tied to a financial collapse where markets could be plunging or inflation could be soaring. But there's still a functioning government that will enforce the rule of law. Now, there aren't crazy people running around with weapons on the streets, there's still law and order, and if you have physical gold and silver with you, you'll be able to really protect your wealth and purchasing power as well as use them easily. When it comes to a financial collapse, it will either be a hyperinflation or a depression that we have to prepare for. We're already seeing crazy inflation rates of 7.9%, and for all we know, it could really reach double digits very soon. Now, hyperinflation refers to inflation that exceeds 50% every month, and that is definitely a possibility, right? Just take a look at Turkey, which has cracked 54% inflation, especially in today's age of money printing. In a hyperinflationary environment, gold and silver will perform marvelously and allow you to still access goods and services without losing purchasing power. Just remember back in Weimar Germany, it took just 5 years for the paper currency to collapse to the point that it took 1 trillion paper marks to equal the value of 1 gold mark. Now, this is a serious as hits the fan scenario, but it won't be lawless, so you can still use your gold and silver to survive. Now, what if the other type of financial collapse happens? And I'm talking about depression where stock markets crash, your housing prices tank, and unemployment just goes up. We are talking about 2008 again, but more severe, and from the current situation in the world, we could be close to one happening as interest rates start going up. Now, in this situation, gold and silver will still hold value, yes. It is likely that the value of precious metals will plunge with other financial instruments and assets as well. But in terms of gold, they could fall much more. And that means using your gold, you could really scoop up assets at a discount. For example, in the 2008 crash, yes, the price of gold did fall from $950 to $725 an ounce, and that's a 24% drop. But the S&P 500, the stock index, fell by over 45% during the crash, while gold was already recovering in price. In fact, before the housing crash, it took you around 3 ounces of gold to buy one share of the S&P, and just a year or two later after the crash, you could use an ounce of gold to buy 1.5 the shares of the S&P. So even though the dollar value of your gold has dropped, in terms of stuff it can buy, the purchasing power has actually increased. And this is why holding precious metals is important, because whether it's a hyperinflation or depression, you will be well protected and can even become wealthier. So let's move on to the scenario of a Mad Max style total collapse. Society is in shambles, everyone is all out for themselves, and the rule of law has collapsed where you are. Now, this can happen in very extreme cases such as an all-out war where you find yourself fleeing, a big natural disaster that just wrecks the entire country, or even a nuclear war. In the immediate aftermath of this scenario, physical gold and silver will have the least value, right? That doesn't mean they are worthless because they're still decentralized assets, and by this point of time, all paper assets, your stocks, your bonds and cash will either be worth nothing or you just can't access them. We all know that precious metals have been used as money for thousands of years. They hold value, but in the days, weeks, and even months after society collapses, The focus will be on surviving and enduring the situation that you're in. Food, water, protection, shelter, and medicine will be the priority, and those will essentially be quite priceless. After all, you do need them to survive. However, you still want to have and hold on to your precious metals, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But during this phase, you will get the least amount of value for your metals, right? So if you're thinking that precious metals will save you at this point, you might be in for a rude awakening. Instead, this is when you want to draw upon your stockpiles of food, water, and supplies, and that's really the whole point of prepping, isn't it? But I would still argue that precious metals are still valuable, especially as we move on to the recovery or rebuilding phase after the collapse. Now, once you manage to survive the coming months or even years of a total collapse, history has shown that society will reorganize and stabilize. We won't know for sure how things will be, but this is where gold and silver's value will be restored and become the medium of exchange. After food, shelter, and water are secured, people will be looking to trade more with each other, and commerce will become more sophisticated and complex. And this is where gold and silver will really shine, and you can use them to trade for land, real estate, as well as general goods and services. Remember, it is likely that after the collapse, there likely won't be a functioning currency, or trust will be so eroded that a new one will have to take its place. And this is where precious metals come back to function as money itself. After all, how many bags of rice or cans of beans do you need to exchange for a home or a plot of land? And that is even considering if the seller wants your beans and rice. Gold and silver has survived for thousands of years and have seen multiple disasters and wars, and have always emerged as the preferred choice to hold value and facilitate trade. So if you have precious metals, it is very possible that you can emerge from the ashes as a very wealthy man or woman in this new world. Another scenario we need to understand is that not every country will be in total collapse at the same time. It might be just yours, but your neighboring countries are doing just fine. Perhaps America could be in crisis, but things in Canada or Mexico aren't that bad, or might even be business as usual. In this case, precious metals are essential to help you escape your country and really rebuild a new life elsewhere. It could be just as valuable as food and water at this point. No matter where you go, money is always welcome in every country, right? Gold and silver have always been portable wealth, and in extreme cases, they can help buy your way out of a disaster zone and help secure safe transport. Try fleeing with your house or that piano worth 30 grand. Even lugging around a suitcase at that point will be a challenge. But in this scenario, gold will outshine silver because you can hold 80 times more value using it, right? So this 1 ounce gold coin holds around $1,900 of value, while a silver coin of the same weight only holds around $25. So it makes gold the better precious metals when it comes time to run away in a total collapse. You can rebuild your life with precious metals on the other side of the border, not with beans or band-aids. When it comes to as hits the fan, you have to be prepared for all scenario, and it's time to update your prepper list to include gold and silver bullion. I'm talking about the physical stuff because whether it's an economic collapse thanks to hyperinflation or Mad Max situation, if you don't hold it, you really don't own it, right? Paper contracts won't have any value, and the word derivative will most probably cease to exist. It will be physical gold and silver that will benefit you. You really won't know which kind of disaster will strike, no one will be able to predict it, so I really believe in accumulating food, water and medicine first. Stock up on those to make sure you can endure the survival phase, but do not forget to stack some physical gold and silver as well because they are essential in both a minor or major collapse. You'll be able to barter for food and supplies if cash loses value, or you'll be able to really exchange them for other assets like land once a semblance of stable society emerges, right? You'll become a financial winner in the new world, provided of course you can survive the months or even years immediately after the collapse. So if you're buying gold and silver, especially for prepping, there are 3 things you really need to keep in mind. I can't stress this enough, but you need the physical metal with you, right? Physical gold and silver that you can hold and touch, and is within reach for you to either barter with them or flee with. No one in a collapse will entertain any paper contract, shares of an ETF, or a certificate to your precious metal sitting in some vault or mint thousands of miles away. During this economic collapse, there could be instances where force majeure comes into play and promises might not be kept. So best to remove that headache by just holding the physical stuff. Secondly, you need both gold and silver, right? Spend the silver to get your daily necessities, food, water, and medicine, while you preserve your gold for the big purchases, right? And besides, during an economic collapse, being silent about your goal is the smarter move, and people won't really bother you if all you're seen with is just a couple of silver coins here or there. And you can just say you got it from your grandpa's collection, right? And finally, you want to have smaller recognizable silver coins for barter. Sure, you can save money on the premiums when you go for bigger silver bars like these, but it will be a nightmare to trade them for the necessities you need. Big bars are for investment, while smaller coins are better for barterability. You can get in and out quicker at the marketplace, merchants will be more accepting of the smaller coins, and you draw less attention to yourself. And the same goes for gold as well. It's much easier to split your stash across multiple smaller coins than to go around lugging a gold kilo bar. Precious metals should be a core component of your prepping arsenal besides the usual food, water, and medical supplies. It can help you in both a financial collapse situation or a true apocalypse where chaos is just breaking out in the streets. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to after the immediate collapse is the inability to really build back up from scratch and take advantage of opportunities to grow your wealth. It will be people with real tangible assets that will prosper, and there's only so much food you can truly stockpile. If you're talking about a true collapse, the fiat currency we know might be replaced with something new, and who knows if other paper assets like stocks will still be around. With physical gold and silver at least, you'll be able to swap them for the new currency that you can then use to buy things. So if you're a prepper, there is value in holding gold and silver. It will help you in both a currency or total collapse. I have a video on prepping with silver that you can check out over here. And if you're a pure precious metal stacker or investor, it is a smart move to start stockpiling some food and water, especially if you're in the more rural parts of the country or you're in the city as well. You want to make sure that you can survive the immediate collapse and endure for a period of time before you can actually start benefiting from your gold and silver stash. I believe precious metals will have a part to play in a as hits the fan situation and allows you to emerge as a big winner when the dust clears. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think. Are you well prepared for a doomsday collapse? Do you have enough gold and silver stashed away? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more gold and silver videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon.